The tall glass windows of the mansion reflected the morning sun, casting sharp beams of light across the perfectly polished marble floor. Inside, Mrs. Eleanor Vance, an elegant woman in her early 40s with a taste for luxury, sat on the cream leather sofa, sipping her black coffee. Her diamond bracelet clinked faintly against the porcelain cup as her mind churned with suspicion. For weeks now, she had been searching for a new babysitter for her 5-year-old daughter, Amelia. A child so precious to her deserved nothing but the best care, but Eleanor had grown wary. She had heard too many stories of caretakers betraying trust, of nannies stealing jewelry, or worse, mistreating children when left alone. It was on this particular morning that her assistant introduced her to Clara, a thin, nervous-looking girl no older than 21. Clara stood in the grand foyer, her worn-out shoes squeaking against the marble as she tried to smile politely. She wore a faded floral dress, clearly second-hand, and clutched a small purse that had seen better days. Everything about her screamed poverty, from the frayed hemline of her dress to the way she nervously tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Mrs. Vance, this is Clara. She came highly recommended by the community shelter," the assistant said with a practiced smile. Eleanor raised her chin, examining the girl with cold precision. She had always trusted her instincts, and right now they told her this girl might not be what she seemed. "You worked at the shelter?" Eleanor asked, her tone crisp. "Yes, ma'am. I helped look after the children there. I don't have formal training, but I love caring for kids. I promise I'll do my best for Amelia." Her words were gentle, almost pleading, but Eleanor's sharp eyes noticed the way Clara's hands trembled slightly. Nervous. Too nervous, she thought. Eleanor had seen this before. Poor girls who acted meek, wormed their way into wealthy homes, and later revealed darker motives. After a pause, Eleanor gave a curt nod. "Fine, you can start today. But understand, Amelia is my world. One mistake, and you're out. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am," Clara whispered, lowering her gaze. By mid-afternoon, Clara had already begun her duties. She patiently read stories to Amelia, helped her build block castles, and even let the little girl braid her hair with clumsy fingers. From the hallway, Eleanor watched, her arms folded across her chest. The sight was almost disarming. Amelia giggled more freely than she had in weeks, her innocent laughter echoing through the mansion. But Eleanor's mind remained guarded. She had been fooled by appearances before, and she was not about to let her guard down now. That night, after Clara had left, Eleanor summoned a discreet technician to the house. Within hours, hidden cameras were installed in the living room, kitchen, playroom, and even Amelia's bedroom. Tiny lenses tucked behind vases, nestled into bookshelves and camouflaged against walls. Eleanor wanted the truth, unfiltered and raw. If Clara's intentions were anything less than pure, the cameras would reveal it. The following day, Clara arrived again, her smile shy but genuine as Amelia rushed into her arms. Eleanor pretended to leave for errands, but in reality, she sat in her upstairs office with a laptop open, streaming the camera feeds in real time. At first, everything seemed ordinary. Clara and Amelia played hide-and-seek in the vast living room. Clara clapped and laughed when Amelia found her behind the sofa. Later, Clara made sandwiches in the kitchen, humming softly as Amelia helped spread jam on the bread. Eleanor leaned closer to the screen, searching for flaws, carelessness, greed, perhaps even a stolen glance at the silver cutlery. But Clara's focus never wavered from Amelia. As the hours passed, Eleanor's eyes narrowed. She noticed Clara discreetly slipping half her sandwich into her purse when she thought no one was watching. Suspicion flared in Eleanor's chest. So this is how it starts, she thought bitterly. First food, then valuables. But then the camera in the playroom revealed something unexpected. After lunch, Clara sat Amelia on her lap and began to sew a tear in the little girl's stuffed rabbit using a tiny needle and thread she had carried from her purse. Her hands moved with surprising skill, stitching carefully until the toy looked whole again. Amelia beamed with joy, hugging the rabbit tightly. "Thank you, Clara," Amelia squealed, kissing her cheek. Clara smiled, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I used to have a toy like this when I was little. It was all I had. I know how important they are." Eleanor, watching from her office, felt a faint crack in her armor of suspicion, but she forced herself to remember her purpose. Emotions cloud judgment. Keep watching. As the day drew to an end, Clara began tidying the toys and washing the dishes. She moved quietly, almost reverently, as if respecting the home that wasn't hers. But then came the moment that made Eleanor's heart freeze. On the camera in Amelia's bedroom, she watched as Clara tucked the little girl into bed. Clara brushed a strand of hair from Amelia's forehead, her touch tender. She whispered something softly, her lips barely moving. Eleanor increased the volume, straining to hear. "I'll always take care of you, little one," she murmured, "even if no one takes care of me." For a long moment, Clara simply sat there, gazing at the sleeping child with an expression Eleanor couldn't decipher. It was love, yes, but there was also something deeper, a sorrow that seemed to weigh heavily in her young eyes. Eleanor leaned back in her chair, unsettled. She had expected to catch Clara stealing, lying, or mistreating her daughter. Instead, she saw a girl who seemed broken and lonely, pouring all the affection she had into Amelia. Still, her mistrust clung stubbornly. She was not ready to be fooled. She told herself she would keep watching, keep testing, until Clara revealed her true colors. After all, appearances could be deceiving.
The next morning dawned with a chill in the air. But inside the Vance mansion, the warmth of expensive comforts filled every room. Eleanor dressed in her silk blouse and designer trousers, her mind racing as she reviewed the footage from the previous day. Clara had done nothing outwardly wrong, but that whisper in Amelia's room, "Even if no one takes care of me," stayed lodged in Eleanor's mind like a splinter. What exactly had the girl meant? Determined to push further, Eleanor decided to create small traps. If Clara was truly honest, she would pass. But if she carried hidden greed, the traps would expose her. Before leaving the house that morning, Eleanor deliberately placed her diamond-studded bracelet on the kitchen counter, half hidden beneath a folded towel. It was worth more than Clara could earn in 5 years. Eleanor then pretended to rush off to an appointment, offering Clara a polite smile that never touched her eyes. "I'll be gone until evening. You know what to do," Eleanor said. "Yes, ma'am," Clara replied, her voice soft but steady. The moment Eleanor closed the front door, she hurried upstairs to her office and opened her laptop. The bracelet lay in plain sight on the kitchen feed, a glittering temptation. Eleanor's heart beat faster as she watched. For the first 2 hours, Clara seemed oblivious. She and Amelia painted with watercolors at the dining table, laughter spilling into the room. Then Clara rose to fetch paper towels and walked past the counter. She froze for a second when she noticed the bracelet glinting under the light. Eleanor leaned forward, breath caught. Clara picked it up carefully, her expression unreadable. She held it in her hand, examining the fine stones. Eleanor's pulse spiked. "Here it comes," she thought. "She'll slip it into her purse. I knew it." But to Eleanor's surprise, Clara gently wrapped the bracelet in the towel and tucked it deep into a drawer, out of Amelia's reach. She even whispered, "Best not to leave shiny things where little hands can grab them." Eleanor slumped back in her chair, confused. The girl hadn't stolen it, she had protected it. Yet suspicion gnawed at her still. Maybe she's smart enough to wait, to bide her time. Later that afternoon, Eleanor devised another test. She called Clara on the house phone, her voice clipped. "Clara, I need you to take Amelia for a walk down the street. Don't go far. I'll be home soon." "Yes, ma'am," Clara said. Eleanor hung up, then quickly drove her car to a discreet spot nearby. From a distance, she watched as Clara held Amelia's hand and strolled slowly toward the park at the end of the street. Unlike other nannies Eleanor had hired in the past, Clara didn't scroll on her phone or chat idly with strangers. Instead, she pointed out flowers, helped Amelia feed birds with crumbs from her pocket, and even stooped to tie the little girl's shoelace when it came undone. Eleanor followed at a distance, her eyes narrowing. The scene looked genuine, too genuine. No one is that perfect, she thought. There must be an angle. That evening, after Amelia was asleep, Eleanor reviewed the day's footage again. Nothing sinister. If anything, Clara seemed too good to be true. And that unsettled Eleanor more than anything. The following week, Eleanor arranged a dinner party at the mansion. Wealthy friends gathered in glittering gowns and tailored suits, sipping champagne and gossiping about stocks, vacations, and politics. Clara, dressed in her same faded floral dress, moved quietly among them, guiding Amelia upstairs when the noise grew too loud. Some of Eleanor's friends raised eyebrows. "Where did you find her? She looks like she crawled out of a thrift store." Eleanor forced a polite laugh. "Community shelter." "Be careful, darling. Those types. They see all this wealth, and they start thinking of ways to take it." Eleanor already knew that. That's why she had the cameras. That's why she never stopped testing. After the guests left, Eleanor checked Amelia's room feed again. Clara sat on the rug with Amelia, telling a bedtime story about a princess who lost everything but still found happiness through kindness. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke, as though the story was not just for Amelia, but also for herself. When Amelia finally drifted off to sleep, Clara lingered by her side again. This time, she reached into her purse and pulled out something small, an old photograph. She gazed at it for a long time, her shoulders shaking. Eleanor zoomed in on the feed. The photograph was faded, but Eleanor could make out a younger Clara with a woman who looked strikingly similar, both smiling in front of what appeared to be a broken-down house. Clara pressed the photo to her lips, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I'll make you proud, Mama," she whispered. Eleanor's heart tightened unexpectedly. She hadn't anticipated this raw display of emotion, but instead of softening, her suspicions twisted further. A tragic backstory, convenient. She's playing a part, and if she's desperate enough, desperation breeds danger. The next day, Eleanor decided to confront Clara indirectly. At breakfast, she said casually, "Amelia has many expensive toys. Some are collector's items worth a fortune. You must understand how tempting that might be for someone less fortunate." Clara looked startled, then nodded quickly. "I understand, ma'am. I'd never touch them. They're Amelia's treasures." Eleanor studied her face for any flicker of guilt, but Clara's eyes remained steady, if a little sad. For the next few days, Eleanor kept her tests subtle, but relentless. Loose cash left on the coffee table, jewelry scattered carelessly in the bathroom, even an unlocked safe with a stack of bills visible. Each time, Clara either ignored them or quietly secured them out of Amelia's reach. Not once did she pocket anything. Yet Eleanor couldn't shake her mistrust. Wealth had taught her that everyone had a price. Everyone. Maybe Clara's just hadn't been revealed yet. The turning point came one stormy evening when thunder rattled the mansion's walls. Eleanor returned home late to find the lights dimmed and Amelia asleep upstairs. She checked the cameras automatically and froze. On the feed from the kitchen, Clara sat alone at the table, her head buried in her arms. She was sobbing, her small shoulders trembling violently. Next to her lay her purse, and spilling from it was a folded eviction notice stamped in red. Final warning. Eleanor's chest tightened. She turned up the volume, listening to Clara's muffled words. "I can't lose her. Mama, I promised I'd never let anyone hurt another child the way you hurt me. I won't fail Amelia, even if I have nothing left." The confession sent a chill down Eleanor's spine. For the first time, she realized Clara wasn't just poor. She was carrying wounds Eleanor didn't yet understand. And despite her poverty, despite her pain, she had never once taken advantage of the situation. Still, Eleanor's fear fought her empathy. She whispered into the empty office, "What are you hiding, Clara? Who are you really?"
The storm outside raged through the night, but inside the mansion, Eleanor sat stiffly in her office chair, replaying the kitchen footage over and over. Clara's sobs, the eviction notice, the whispered promise to her mother. It all gnawed at Eleanor's mind. She had started this hidden surveillance expecting to catch a thief or a liar. Instead, she had uncovered a girl drowning in silent struggles, yet still fiercely protective of Amelia. By morning, Eleanor had resolved to push Clara harder than ever. If there was a hidden agenda, this was the time to reveal it. When Clara arrived, damp from the drizzle outside, Eleanor greeted her with an unusual warmth. "Clara, I'll be gone most of the day. Amelia is yours to watch. I trust you," Eleanor said, her smile tight but deliberate. Clara blinked, surprised. "Of course, ma'am. I'll take good care of her." Eleanor nodded, then left, but not far. She parked down the street, her tablet streaming the live feeds. This was it, one last test. For hours, nothing happened beyond the ordinary. Clara and Amelia baked cookies, flour dusting Clara's nose as Amelia laughed hysterically. Later, they built a blanket fort in the living room, Clara crawling inside to tell stories. From the screen, they looked like sisters more than caregiver and child. But late in the afternoon, Clara's phone buzzed. She stepped into the kitchen, glancing around nervously. Eleanor leaned closer to the tablet, heart hammering. Clara answered. A gruff male voice carried through the audio. "You're out of time, Clara. Rent's overdue. Pay up or get out by Friday. No excuses." Clara's voice broke. "Please, I just need a few more days. I'm working, I swear. I can't lose my place. I can't." "Not my problem," the man cut her off before hanging up. Clara gripped the counter, trembling. Then, to Eleanor's shock, she pulled open the drawer where the diamond bracelet still rested. Clara picked it up, staring at it with shaking hands. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. This is it. She's going to do it. Clara held the bracelet for a long moment, tears rolling down her cheeks. Her lips quivered as she whispered, it would solve everything. She closed her eyes, clutching it tightly. Eleanor's stomach churned, the moment of truth. But then Clara slammed the drawer shut, the bracelet safe inside. She slid down to the floor, covering her face with her hands. "No, I won't. Not like this. I promised, Mama." Eleanor's chest constricted, a mix of guilt and unexpected admiration flooding her. Clara could have taken it, could have saved herself, but she didn't. She chose suffering over betrayal. By evening, Eleanor returned home, her expression composed, though her mind was chaos. She found Amelia asleep in Clara's lap, the girl gently stroking her hair, as if shielding her from the world. "Clara," Eleanor said softly. Clara looked up, startled. "Oh, welcome home, ma'am. I was just—" "Come with me. We need to talk." Eleanor's tone was firm, but not cold. In the kitchen, Eleanor folded her arms, eyes locking onto Clara. "I know about the eviction notice. I know you're struggling.
And I know you almost took something that wasn't yours today." Clara froze, face draining of color. How? How? "I have cameras," Eleanor admitted, her voice steady. "I've been watching you from the beginning." Clara's lips parted in shock. Her hands trembled as she backed away slightly. You don't trust me?" Eleanor exhaled, guilt pricking her chest. "No, I didn't. And maybe that was wrong, but I had to be sure." Tears welled in Clara's eyes. "I never wanted your money. I needed a job. I needed to keep a roof over my head. My mother, she used to hurt me when I was little. She never cared. But I swore that if I ever got the chance, I'd protect children the way I was never protected. That's why Amelia matters to me, more than anything, even if I lose everything else." For a long silence, Eleanor said nothing. She stared at the fragile, trembling girl before her, so young, so broken, yet still carrying an unshakable moral core. All Eleanor's tests, all her suspicion, and still Clara had chosen integrity. Finally, Eleanor spoke, her voice softer than it had been in years. "Clara, you passed every test I set. Do you understand? Every trap I laid, you resisted, even when desperation clawed at you." Clara shook her head, tears streaking her cheeks. "I'm not perfect. I thought about it. I wanted to, but I couldn't." "That's the difference," Eleanor said gently. "Temptation doesn't define you. Your choice does, and you chose right." Clara lowered her gaze, silent. Eleanor took a step closer. "Clara, I hired you thinking you might be a threat. But what I found instead is someone my daughter adores, someone who protects her like her own. And maybe, just maybe, someone I can finally trust." Clara looked up, stunned. "Trust me?" "Yes," Eleanor whispered. She hesitated, then added, "And maybe I can help you too." The next week, Eleanor quietly paid off Clara's overdue rent, ensuring she wouldn't lose her home. She didn't announce it directly. She had her assistant arrange it anonymously, but Clara discovered it soon enough. When she came to the mansion the following day, her eyes brimmed with gratitude. I don't know how, but the eviction notice is gone. The landlord said someone cleared my debt," Clara said, voice trembling. Eleanor arched her brow. "Maybe good things come to good people," she replied coolly, though a faint smile tugged at her lips. Clara blinked rapidly, overcome with emotion. "Thank you, whoever it was." In the weeks that followed, a transformation took place within the mansion. Clara became not just Amelia's babysitter, but her confidant, her safe haven. The little girl's laughter grew brighter, her confidence stronger. Eleanor watched them together and felt something she hadn't in years: peace. One evening, as she peeked into Amelia's room, Clara saw Clara and Amelia asleep side by side, Amelia's tiny hand curled against Clara's. This sight struck Eleanor deeply. She realized she had been guarding her wealth so fiercely that she had nearly overlooked the rarest treasure of all, a heart that chose kindness over survival. Eleanor turned off the monitors that night. For the first time in months, she didn't need to watch. She trusted Clara. And though she would never admit it aloud, in her own quiet way, Eleanor had found not just a babysitter for her daughter, but perhaps a fragment of family she hadn't known she was missing. The mansion remained filled with luxury, but its greatest richness no longer lay in diamonds or silk. It lay in the laughter of a child, the courage of a young woman, and the lesson Eleanor would carry forever. Sometimes the poorest hearts hold the richest intentions.